here. We are recording. So if you're watching the video, and this is not Nancy or Jennifer because you guys are here, but if you're watching the video and you want to claim your extra credit, you need to email me the attendance words, and I'm changing it up a little bit. Instead of me just giving you a word to write down, I will be asking questions, and that'll make sense when we get there. Let me go ahead and share my screen. It is 10. It should be a pretty quick meeting because everything's pretty straightforward. There we go. So for feedback, this is all very straightforward. I'm still grading, so this isn't completely encompassing. But anyway, from what I have graded so far, I was very lenient on the grading with the discussions. So for the most part, if you did it and you wrote down the advantages and the disadvantages and made it clear which came from your source and which came from your textbook, then you got full credit for the most part. The mistakes I saw this week were the ones I've been seeing every week. People aren't using sources, or they're using them improperly. And then also I've got a lot of people this week who turned it in late. So if you're watching this video and you're wondering about your grades, if you received a 0, it's because you didn't use a source or you didn't use it properly. Meaning, like, for example, one person just didn't leave a source. So I asked them to provide a source and they provided it. But then I looked at that source and compared it to what they wrote, and the information in their post was nowhere to be found in their source. So that's what I mean by properly using a source. So make sure you do that. And again, if you received a 0, that's why. You can go ahead, you can do more replies if you want to fix your grade, but it is just towards the end of the semester, so I can't guarantee I'll have time to grade it. I guarantee I'll try, but I can't guarantee I'll be able to. And if you received a 10 on your initial post instead of a 15, that's because you posted late. And by late, I mean over the weekend, because I was caught up with grading on Friday. Had everything that was submitted by Friday I had already graded. So what I'm grading now is stuff that was turned in over the weekend, and that's just very late for an initial post. But that's it for this week's or last week's discussion. Do you guys have any questions about last week's discussions?
No.
Okay. And I should point out too, I mean, since this is environmental biology, you guys might know about this. Wow. One of the biggest drawbacks I saw for solar was the cost, and it is expensive. But I just wanted to point out, at least here in West Virginia, I would assume other places, I know of at least 2 companies that will allow you to finance solar panels. And I've looked into it. I got a new roof, so I think I'm going to do it. For me, for example, my roof, I guess, is big enough where I would produce enough electricity. The cost of my monthly payments would be offset by the amount of money I save on my electric bill. So right away, even though I'm making monthly payments, I would still be saving money. Granted, it's not a lot.
That's absolute true too. One of my neighbors has solar panels. Now he doesn't have a big house. His house is probably 1,100 square feet, 1,200 square feet. But I believe his electric bill is about $30.
Nice.
I'm like, yes, please.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm going to do, Sue. Every little bit helps. When you're making educator salary. Anyway, yeah. So that's it for the Module 7 discussion. The Module 7 lab, also pretty straightforward. There's not much I could say about that. The biggest mistake that people are making, some people, is on the table. You have to put the year. I guess I'll go ahead and show you. Let's see here, Module 7 lab. So this goes, obviously, if you're watching this and you received a very low score, I mean, this is why. Let's not do that. There we go. Lab 7. Yes, there we go. Lab 7. So let's look at here. All right, this, right? You need to put your year in there, the years you used. Otherwise, I can't grade anything below this because I can't check your data if I don't know what years you used. So any questions about the Module 7 lab?
No.
Pretty straightforward. And of course, the quiz, same thing. As always, I just recommend keep retaking it until you get full credit. And whether we're talking about the quiz or the lab, or the discussion. I'll remind you, if you meet me online and allow me to give you detailed feedback, then you can get a 5% boost to that grade. Anyway, moving forward, this is also pretty straightforward. Module 8 discussion. That's the last module, so I want things nice and easy. Basically, you just need to come up with some idea, a unique idea that is, good for the environment. So when I say unique, I know it's hard, but I'm not going to be really picky. But it can't be something really, really obvious. Like, I think you should recycle. Yeah, of course you should. That's a very obvious thing to do. Now, if you get creative and like have some ways, like in your post, if you talk about different ways of recycling, or perhaps a way to make it easier or more incentivized, whatever, that's fine. But you don't want to come up with some really basic ideas that we all know about, like don't leave your refrigerator door open, all that stuff that we know, right? So, and if it's not unique, even then, still, you're not going to miss many points. And if you do, as usual, you can just do more than the one post. That's another thing to tell you. You only need to do one reply. This week, again, I'm trying to make it easy since it's the last week. So your initial post is worth 10 points this time. 20, and you'll just need to do one reply. But again, you can do more if you want for extra credit and to help pad your grade. And for the reply, you can read about it. You just give some advice, like how can their idea be improved? What do you like about their idea? What do you dislike? What are the advantages or disadvantages to their ideas? This is all here. You can read it. It's very straightforward. There's not much else I can say about it. Again, as always, I'll just remind you, at least for your initial post, just make sure you include at least one non-textbook source and you use it correctly. It's pretty straightforward. It's module 8 and people are still not doing that. Anyway, any questions about this week's discussion?
So I do have a question, and it's kind of silly, but it says not to use anything that would be like found in Google. So if we can't Google it and like come up with an idea, then how do we use a source?
This is good. I'm glad you asked that. This is a great example, the one I left right here. Right.
Okay.
So when I came up with this idea, I didn't Google like, hey, how can I help the environment? I thought to myself, all right, I know that heating, water has, how do I put this? Water is very good at changing temperature slowly. So I'm like, what if, and that gave me this idea. It's like, all right, don't let your water drain. Let it, I know it's dirty, but keep it in your bath after you've used it.
Mm-hmm.
And then to describe my idea, then I had to look stuff up because I wanted to, like, instead of just saying, yeah, don't use water, don't put your water down. I wanted to explain why that works. So I use this, I use these different websites.
I gotcha. Okay. So we're coming up with an idea, and then we're going to go out there and try to find a source that would basically support our idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Like
that's
if you,
what I
don't
just
know.
done. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Good.
what I just
Okay.
done. I actually thought of medications, that's disposing of medications, and knowing that that it affects the environment some way or another. And then I went,
Yeah.
and I just did my discussion, and I came up with that, but I did go and search for, things in a site to get my information that I wanted to go off of to know how it affected our environment. Because
Exactly.
I knew it polluted the environment with not just us, with humanity, but with animals and different things.
Exactly. Very good. Yeah. Especially if you watch that poison water video from module 6 that, they talked about endocrine disruptors, which are not all from medication. There's also from other stuff, but yeah, like that is very bad for the environment.
I actually learned something though, when I was doing that a while ago, that I really didn't think about, and how it pollutes our air. Like, I didn't realize that medications, like they go in landfills and stuff like that, can dispose of chemicals into the air to pollute the air. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And that's the purpose of that discussion, is to help you learn something outside of what I'm teaching you. So very good. And thank you for asking that question. Shoot, I was going to say something else about the discussion before we move forward. Let me think. No, I don't remember. Oh, well, maybe it'll come back to me. Anyway, yep. So that's the discussion. Oh yeah, I remember what it was now. I advise you to read your classmates' ideas before you post yours, because when I say unique, that is definitely one thing I will be checking for. So if one person, if a classmate suggests something, you want to make sure you're not suggesting the same thing. Yeah, that's very important. Also, and I doubt this person's watching because I think the students who care about their grades and putting forth the effort are watching these videos, but one of your classmates copied from another one. They just like for a discussion, they copied. Looks like they copied it and pasted it and changed some words. And that's really, really bad. Don't do that. Just get a 0 before you copy. Plagiarism is very bad. Academic dishonesty is very bad. Anyway, so that's it for the discussion. Do you have any other questions about the Module 8 discussion?
No.
All right. Now, this is a new thing. Lab 8. You have options. The first option is the one I've been having for a long time, and honestly, it just sucks. But I couldn't find a good lab when I created this course that was good for lab or for Module 8. Where is it at? So this is basic. What is that? It? Yeah. So this one is basically just it's just about waste, right? And you can read it yourself, and it's just like, hey, what are your hypotheses? How much of these do you think were used the most? How much of these do you think were used the most? And just really quickly to show you, for example, I'll just read this one. I'm not going to read them all. Regarding the trash that was produced overall in 2018, put the following in order from most to least by weight. So you could just list them here, or you could just put the numbers. Like, all right, I think food was first, followed by other, followed by rubber and leather, so on and so forth. So that's what you need to do for these hypothesis questions. You can do it whichever way you want. And then obviously to test your hypothesis, I'm going to send you to a website. And then you just, test your hypothesis. It's pretty simple. And you say, was it correct? Was it not? And then you actually answer the question. You list the way it was from most to least, right? So the highest to lowest. And then there's some other website you look at, and you just answer some questions to prove that you read it. And there's another website that read, some things about recycling. So answer a few hypothesis questions, and then you just read the website and see if your hypothesis was correct or not. And that's it. And again, I don't really like this lab. So finally, after all these years, I came up with a new lab for Module 8. And I really like this for students who want to do it. And I'm going to start incorporating it with the other modules as well. But for this one, it's like you kind of choose your own. So you've been doing this for a while. This is Module 8. So here, we're still going to do the same thing, right? We're still meeting the same objectives. You're still going to form a hypothesis. In this case, you're not going to explain your reasoning. You're not going to include a prediction, but you are going to form a hypothesis. You're going to collect data to test your hypothesis, and then you're going to use your data to explain if your hypothesis was correct or not, right? So here's how it works, right? So you're going to get to choose a topic, either one of these 4 topics, and then from there, you can come up with a hypothesis. And remember, a hypothesis it's an answer to a question that you can test, right? So there's some examples here, and you can use these examples. Like increased levels of particulate matter in the air correlate with a higher incidence of asthma, right? Because Module 8 includes human health, right? So if that was your hypothesis, if you choose that, you write that there. And then it's up to you. I'm giving this, take some initiative and let the students choose. You find out where you want to collect that data. You have to use a table. You have to have a graph. You have to tell me what your source is. And again, this is science. I've had sometimes there's feedback where someone's like, I wish there weren't so many tables and graphs, but that's what science is, right? It's all about collecting and organizing and analyzing data. So anyway, you choose which website you want to get. Use this table. If you don't have to use all the, if you want fewer, you could delete those if you wanted to, like that. Or, if you wanted to, maybe you needed for it to be longer, so you could, add rows below, right? You can make changes, do what you need to do, but this is your table. Obviously you're going to give your table a name. You make a graph, and then just like usual, after you've collected your data and made a graph, then you just tell me like, hey, what was your hypothesis? And was it supported or refuted by your data, right? So use your data to explain whether your hypothesis was correct or not. And as usual, you're going to talk about the flaws in your experiment or how it could be improved, right? So maybe you could get data from more places or collect more data, whatever it may be. Then as usual, there's a theme here, right? You could tell me how else you could test your hypothesis, right? So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Actually, it's not simple, I guess. This one's a little bit more complicated in a sense, but I like it. So it gives you a little bit more academic freedom. yeah, so that's it. Let me see. You know what? I'm going to add something here. I'll fix it later. I don't want to waste your guys' time, but I'm also going to add an extra credit thing here because I would love some feedback. If anybody does this lab, I would like some feedback and see if you like this kind of lab where you have more freedom to choose the topic and choose the hypothesis you're going to test and choose where you're going to get your data. If you like this more than the other versions of what we usually do. And that's it. Do you guys have any questions about Lab 8? Either one of them?
No, but I will tell you, I was going to use asthma anyways. I know you
Okay.
said asthma. I don't want you to think I was copying you. My son has asthma. So when I was looking at this, I want to use asthma as one of my topics. So I'm like, I don't want you to think I'm copying you.
No, it's good. No, that's what they're
Okay.
there for.
Okay.
Like I said, you can use any of these, or you can just come up with your own. Either way, and I actually like that too because my 2 daughters have asthma, so I'd be curious to see. I'm looking forward to reading your lab. And see
All
what you
right,
find
perfect.
out. Yeah, and that's it. And as always, I'll remind you if there's ever more than one lab version, you can do both or all 3, whatever the case may be, depending on the module, to get extra points, to help buffer your grade and to get extra credit. But that's it. That's all I have for that. The final exam. Oh yeah, one more thing. Sorry. So exam 3 is now closed. You can no longer retake exam 3, meaning you can now meet me online to get feedback for exam 3. So you get that 5% boost and so you can have all the correct answers, which brings me to my next point. The final exam, which is due on Sunday, it's about 100 questions. About 50 of them come from the first 3 exams, and about 50 of them come from Module 7 and Module 8. I will provide a study guide today for the new stuff for Module 7 and Module 8, but you guys need to study your old exams to help. That's your study guide. That's the other half of your study guide is to study your old exams. So that being said, when you go to the old exams, if for some reason it doesn't allow you to see your answers or whatever the case may be, let me know and I'll fix it. And then finally, on that note, I also need to go in and change some settings for exam 3. I'm very aware that if you were to go look at your score for exam 3 right now, it'll tell you there's an error, but I do plan on fixing that today. So if by tomorrow, if you go to look to see exam 3 and it still says error, let me know and I'll fix it. But yeah, that's on my to-do list today. So yeah, I think that's it. That's all I have. Do you guys have any questions?
Nope.
That's it.
I guess the last thing, man, I forgot to do attendance words. Well, anyway, the last thing I'll say too, to remind you is, you'll have about 100, or you have exactly 100 minutes to answer about 100 questions. If you need more time, let me know. If we can meet online and I can see you and see your screen and hear you and make sure that you're taking a closed book exam, then I don't care how long it takes you to take it. And I also want to warn you, I think I caught somebody cheating. I don't know how. And no offense if you're watching, it's neither one of you guys, but no offense if you watch this video and you happen to be that person, but somebody scored like a 98% and it took them 6 minutes to take it. Exam 3.
Wow.
I wish it was one of us.
Yeah, I'm hoping I'll be really happy, and I'm not even pursuing it. I don't know.
That's
I'm hoping-
insane.
I'm hoping they're just really good, but just as a
6
warning.
minutes?
Yeah. So just as a warning for anybody watching this, if you maybe I don't know, if you've got people from previous semesters of taking pictures of the questions and sharing them with you, or I don't know what's going on, but I'll have you know I'm rewording all the questions. So if you are well, how do I put it? If you're relying on that, if you're expecting that, be aware, and you're going to do some real studying because I'm rewording every single question in the final exam. So it will not look like it has ever looked. I mean, same content, just worded differently. So, if you're cheating, I'm giving you the warning now. Do some actual studying because you're gonna have a bad time.
Was this on a big exam?
Yeah, it's worth more.
What?
I forget exactly. Yeah, it's worth more than the rest. Yeah, because it's
How's
the
that
final.
possible? Wow.
Yep. But anyway, any other questions?
Nope.
All right then.
Thank you.
let you go. And the last word for attendance, I guess, isn't a question at all. But the last word for attendance will just be final exam. And that's it. You guys have a good week.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See you later.